Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. And we ran down the garden with the snowballs in our arms toward the house, and smoke indeed was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombulating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats in Wales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house, laden with snowballs, and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning, all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade!" cried Mrs. Prothero. "They won't be there, it's Christmas," said Mr. Prothero. There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of them, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero, and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well, and the ambulance, and Ernie Jenkins, he likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve. And when the firemen turned off the hose, and we're standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came down the stairs and peered in at them. Jim and I waited very quietly to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?" Years and years and years ago, when there were wolves in Wales and birds the color of red flannel petticoats whisked past the harp-shaped hills, when we sang and wallowed in caves that smelled like Sunday afternoons in damp front farmhouse parlors, and chased with the jawbones of deacons, the English and the bears, before the motor car, before the wheel, before the Duchess-faced horse, when we rode the daft and happy hills bareback. It snowed and it snowed. Here a small boy says, "It snowed last year too. I made a snowman, and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down. And then we had tea." But that was not the same snow, I said. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewashed buckets down the sky. It came shawling out of the ground and grew out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of houses, minutely white-ivied the walls like a pure and grandfather moss, and settled on the postman just opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white-torn Christmas cards. Were there postmen then too? Sprinkling eyes and wind-cherried noses on spread frozen feet, they crunched up to the doors and mittened on them manfully. But all that the children could hear was a ringing of bells. "I only hear thunder sometimes, never bells." There were church bells too. Inside them? No. No. In the snow-white black belfries, tugged by bishops and storks, and they rang their tidings over the bandaged town, over the frozen foam of the powder and ice cream hills, over the crackling sea. Seemed that all the churches boomed for joy under my window, and the weathercocks crew for Christmas on our deck. Get back to the postmen. They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking with dogs at Christmas in the snow. They knocked on the door with blue knuckles. Ozzy's got a black knocker. They stood on the white welcome mats in the little drifted porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breath. They jogged from foot to foot like small boys waiting to go out. And then the presents. And then the presents. After the Christmas box. And the postman with a rose on his button nose tingled on the tea tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went in his ice-bound boots like a man on fishmonger's slabs. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned the corner on one foot, and by God, he was gone. Get back to the presents. There were the useful presents, engulfing mufflers of the old coach days, and mittens made for giant sloths, zebra scarves of a silky substance like gum that could be tug-of-warred down to the galoshes, blinding tam-o'-shanters like patchwork tea cozies, and bunny-suited busbies, and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking drive. From aunts who always wore wool next to the skin, there were mustached and rasping vests that made you wonder why the aunts had any skin left at all. And once, I had a little crocheted nose bag from an aunt now, alas, no longer whinnying with us. And pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Farmer Giles' pond, and did, and drowned. And a book that told me everything about the wasp, except why. Go on to the useless presents. Bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies, and a folded flag, and a false nose, and a tram conductor's cap, and a machine that punched tickets and rang a bell. Never a catapult. Once, by a mistake that no one could explain, a little hatchet. And a celluloid duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduck-like sound. A meowing moo that an ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow. Meow. And a painting book in which I could make the grass, the sky, the trees, and the animals any color I wished. And still the dazzling sky blue sheep are grazing in the red field beneath the pea green and rainbow-billed birds. Hard-boiled, toffee, fudge, and all sorts. Crunches, cracknels, humbugs, glaziers, marzipan, and butter welch for the Welsh. And troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run. And snakes and families, and happy ladders, and easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Easy for Leonardo. And a whistle Was it to make the dogs bark? To wake up the old man next door? To make him beat on the wall with his stick to shake our picture off the wall? And a packet of cigarettes. Put one in your mouth. And you stood at the corner of the street. And you waited for hours in vain for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette. Young man, you shouldn't be smoking that cigarette. And then with a smirk, you ate it. And then it was breakfast under the balloons. Were there uncles like in our house? There are always uncles at Christmas. The same uncles. And on Christmas morning, with dog-disturbing whistle and sugar fags, I would scour the Swatch town for news of the little world and find always a dead bird by the white post office or by the deserted swings, perhaps a robin, all but one of its fires out. Not many of those mornings trod the piling streets. An old man always, fawn-bowlered, yellow-gloved, and at this time of year, with spats of snow, would take his constitutional to the white bowling green and back, as he would take it, wet or fine, on Christmas Day or Doomsday. Sometimes two hale young men, big pipes blazing, no overcoats, and wind-blown scarves, would trudge unspeaking down to the forlorn sea, to work up an appetite, to blow away the fumes. Who knows? To keep walking into the waves until nothing was left but the two curling clouds of smoke from their inextinguishable briars. Then I would be slap dashing home, the gravy smell of the dinners of others, the bird smell, the brandy, the pudding and mince coiling up to my nostrils, when out of a snow-clogged side lane would come a boy, the spit of myself, with a pink-tipped cigarette and the violet past of a black eye, cocky as a bullfinch, leering all to himself. I hated him on sight and sound, and would be about to put my dog whistle to my lips and blow him off the face of Christmas, when suddenly he, with a violet wink, put his whistle to his lips and blew so high, so stridently, so exquisitely loud that gobbling faces, their cheeks bulged with goose, would press against the tinseled windows the whole length of the white echoing street.